From Chapel Hill, WUNC-TV visits the North Carolina High School Radio Television Institute. Through the facilities of Channel 4's Mobile studio, we shall visit the University Communications Center, where the Institute is now in progress. Commentator for the tour is Harvey Daniel.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're delighted to have an opportunity to welcome you here to first a small corner of the Communications Center facilities in Swain Hall on the campus of the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. I assure you that we're not going to remain in this corner very long, for we're going to take a tour that will permit you to see most of the facilities that are contained within Swain Hall. But tonight, it's not simply the facilities that we're concerned with, although we think you'll find these of interest. Rather, it is the talent. And the talent tonight is drawn from the North Carolina High School Radio and TV Institute. These are students of the 11th and 12th grade who have been sponsored and come here to the campus to study a 2-week course in TV and radio production. I think perhaps they are better qualified to speak of their own talents, and I'm going to suggest that we begin our somewhat lengthy journey by first turning toward a rehearsal for a radio talent show. And if you'll just come along with me, I'll act as your conductor.
Work all right.
Hello there. Would you let me interrupt, please, for just a moment? I'm Harvey Daniel, and who's the director?
I'm Frank Gardner.
Frank, I'm very happy to know you, and who else do we have here?
This is Neil Parks from Hickory.
Neil, I'm very glad to know you.
Janice Katz from Raleigh.
I'm glad to know
Janice,
you.
delighted to know you.
Allied Electronics in Raleigh.
Sponsored by Allied Electronics in Raleigh. A good commercial. You ought to go far in the business. I gather that you are the talent in our presentation, and you're the director. You've been identified to me as such. Now, what's Neil's function?
Neil's an announcer in this case.
And, well, certainly we need more than this to put on even a small segment of a radio show. How about identifying some of the other personnel that are going to support your activities?
In the control room, we have Pete Raines.
Pete, very glad to know you.
And in the recording room, we have Don Smith.
Don, very glad to know you. I'll tell you what, now that we've met you all, perhaps the most sensible thing to do is simply get out of your way and let you go ahead and put on your radio talent show.
Janice will take that just as we planned. Neil, I'll give you the cue and you will do it. All right. Now, what is she going to play?
Lorena Purple.
Stand by. Roll tape. To begin the show tonight, we have Miss Janice Katz, a little girl with a big accordion who plays some very pretty music. Janice, who is from Raleigh, has played the accordion for about 2 years at many places in and around Raleigh. I'm sure you'll enjoy hearing Janice play Lorena Polka.
Indeed, that was very good, and I thank you for letting us drop on by and view your activities here in a talent rehearsal. Now for quite an entirely different form of effort, a rehearsal involving a dramatic production. And to show you this, I'm going to have to take you to yet another location here in Swain Hall. And here we're going to find, again, a group of high school students busily engaged in putting to work what they have learned in the way of presentation of dramatic effort.
Mary, I just don't like to be here alone at night.
I know, Alma. Since Father went away, every creak and groan terrifies me.
I keep hearing things, queer, eerie noises.
Well, this isn't helping any. Let's finish this game and go to bed.
Mary, did you hear that?
Yes, I heard it. It was just the wind, I hope.
Well, that's the first time the wind has turned the doorknob.
The gun. Where's the gun? Just stay quiet, Alma. What will we do?
Look, the door.
Good evening, daughters.
Heaven forbid, it's Father.
Gang, and start over from gang. You didn't quite get that right that time.
Mr. Director, since you've already interrupted your group for a moment, I wonder if we may come on in and interrupt a bit further and have you identify the group to us and tell us what you're doing in here.
Yes, sir. I'm Bob Burkett from Michigan Sailor.
Bob, very glad to know you.
And in the control room, we have Eddie Wright upstairs.
Eddie, how are you?
And over here, we have Lois Briggs from Pine Town.
Lois?
And then here we have Penny Nivens
Penny.
from Waxhaw. And then Cecil Yarborough from Burlington.
Cecil?
And then over here is Janet Blackwell from Winston-Salem.
Janet, very glad to know you. And I gather this is a dramatic effort, but I'm going to ask you to suspend the drama for just a moment and see if we can get Lois to tell us something about these strange devices she has over here. So she apparently is your sound effects department, is that right?
That's right, sir.
Lois, would you tell us something about how you activate these instruments and give us some idea of what kind of an effect they produce?
Here is simply a door, and you knock on it,
Recognizable?
open it,
Good.
close it. You don't want to open it and close it real fast like that because usually a man's bigger than that. It takes more time for him to get through the door.
I noticed you said it was a man.
Well, and here you want to rattle the doorknob so that people will
Let's see if we're
know,
rattling.
so they can recognize the sound.
Now, this has all been supported probably by lines that the dramatic talent have spoken. All right, good. Now, how about, all right, let's take that.
Well, this is the creaking door. Have to press real hard on these two pieces of wood on
Well, I'm sure the creaks are coming out over. I'm not sure your comments got in there, Lois. A creaking door. Now, how about the box there with all the odds and ends in it?
Well, this is full of glass and rock and nails and a little bit of everything. And it produces the breaking of glass. I'll drop this glass. Now, the glass didn't break, but it still produced the sound of glass breaking.
Impressive, economical. My children just dropped the glasses, and I assure you they shatter. All right, now, how about this bird cage, squirrel cage? What is it? Want to move off a little bit to one side there, Lois? Let me get the microphone in there. All right, start a wind on it.
Real loud.
Impressively so. Let's see now. We've had doors slamming. We had doors creaking, glass breaking, the wind. Oh, finally, this very complicated device you have there. What's that, Lois? You're familiar with their operations. What are you going to use it for in the way of sound effects?
Well, this produces the sound of fire.
Sound of fire.
Yes, sir. The straw rubbing together produces the crackling sound, like if it was burning in a forest, with all the wood popping and all.
Mm-hmm.
Straws produce that sound.
Good enough. All very economical, and I'm sure when it gets out over the air, it sounds quite impressive and very, very realistic. Lois, thank you very much for showing us your sound effects. Now, I think since we have identified this as a dramatic group, I want to go ahead and do the sensible thing and let the actors start to work on their lines. Let's just drop off to one side and you take on over again, Mr. Director.
Okay, let's start from the very beginning of that last scene. And, Janet, you show a little more expression in your part this time.
Mary and Alma, my devoted daughters, I am most gratified that you remember your father. I do not doubt that you are, shall we say, slightly astonished to see me. You were so meticulous in disposing of me.
I knew he would come back. He always has.
But I was so sure this time.
This time. The time before. What, my daughter's about the time to come?
How did you get here? Why did you come?
I know the way, my dear. You
That brief
know the reason.
That was very good. That's a lot better than the time before. Now, let's do the first thing here, where the wind comes back into the very beginning.
Mary, I just don't like to be here alone at night.
I know, Alma. His father went away. Every creak and groan terrifies me.
I keep hearing things. Queer, eerie noises.
Well, this isn't helping any. Let's finish this game and go to bed.
Mary, did you hear that?
Yes, I heard it. It was just the wind, I hope.
Well, that's the first time the wind has turned the doorknob.
The gun. Where's the gun? Just stay quiet, Alma. What will we do?
Oh, look, the door.
Good evening, Porthos.
Heaven forbid, it's Father.
It can't be you. It couldn't be.
Mary and Alma, my devoted daughters. I am most gratified that you remember your father. I do not doubt that you are, shall we say, slightly astounded to see me. You were so meticulous in disposing of me.
I knew he would come back. He always has.
But I was so sure this time.
This time, the time before. What, my daughters, about the time to come?
How did you get here? Why did you come?
That, ladies and gentlemen, concludes our short episode on radio drama, complete with the sound effects. And now we're going to shift to the, I think perhaps a degree more complex medium of television, where here sight and sound are fused together. And for our introduction to this subject, we're going to turn to John Clayton in the television studio, who is working with a group from the Institute.
Well, the director, in approaching any show, has to understand, first of all, the potential of his cameras, what they will do for him, what his pictures will look like when they're taken, what various positions mean, what various lenses will look like when it's put on the air. Now, later on, we'll get into some camera work, but first of all, I'd like to indicate to you a few safety practices I'd like you to observe while you're here. This camera has several locking devices on it. This will allow you to tilt. And you notice I hit it with the heel of my hand down here to release it, tugged on it to lock it. Underneath your friction head is a release which will allow you to pan back and forth this way. Always make sure that these locking devices are in place and locked. The camera is frozen before you release it. In class, we'll have a lot of people trading off, taking their turns at the camera. And if you leave your camera free and assume that someone else has it, and say, all right, George, it's your turn at that, and let go, plunk, down goes the camera, and it's more than I can afford to replace. So best, we always lock it, say, all right, take over. When he takes it, then it's his baby, and he can unlock it if he wishes to. Also, you'll notice on the front of the camera, here on the lens, is what is called a lens cap. This protects the camera itself and prevents light from entering the camera and disturbing the tube. Always make sure that's in place, and do not remove the lens cap until actually you have had directions from your video control engineer to take off the cap. Now, in choosing your lenses, as I said, there are 4 choices that can be made. Here's the 50, 90, 135, and 8.5 inch. Now, to give you an idea of what these lenses will do, I'll take a picture of you on this camera, and we'll get each of the lenses. And you will see how, as we go from a wide lens, from the 50 on up to an 8.5, we will get a narrower and narrower field of view. May I uncap this camera? Alrighty, we will uncap now and go to a 50. Now, getting you focused up, if you look at the monitor over here, you'll see your picture as it's taken on the camera, which I have just put up. You can see we have a pretty wide angle here. We have most of you in view. Now, I'm going to change this lens on the air, something that ordinarily you would hope your cameraman wouldn't do, but I want you to see what the cameraman will see when he changes a picture. You will notice two things. One, you will see the lens rotate, turn around until a new lens comes into place, and then you will see the camera actually come into focus. All right, now I'll rotate. Here we are on a 90, and notice that I can rock it in and out of focus. Now we've become a little more selective. We have narrowed our angle down, and we now have just a few features in our picture. I'd better uncap the 135 here, if I may. There's we're uncapped. Now I'll put up the 135, tighter shot, and now last of all, you see that? Last of all, the 8.5. And here we have an extreme close-up, okay? Very tight, so tight, difficult to get into focus. All right, those are the four lenses and four choices that you have. But also, you can change position on cameras, and that will have some effect. Let me show you that by having one of you take over the camera. Thank you, sir, if you will. Now, the procedure was for me to lock it. It's yours. I'm sure we're not crossed here. All right, fine. Now, if we can bring in another camera, we can give you an indication of what these lenses will do from a variety of positions. This, by the way, is a dolly and has the advantage of being able to go up and down. Is this camera in action? Can we use it? All right, Neil, will you help out over there? Let's take this camera and take a yardstick here and put on a wide-angle lens. At the same time, with a camera that we've pulled way back, we'll put on a long lens, a very long lens. Now here, I reach over and uncap, take the cap off. Alrighty. Now I will extend the yardstick toward this lens here on camera 4. Now we'll take a picture of it and show you what it looks like. You can see that it looks like about a 2x4 plank that I'm holding down here. It's actually a yardstick, of course, but it looks larger than that. All right, now suppose we were to go over on an 8.5, a longer lens from a distance, a lens we have on camera 3 over on the side out of our picture here. But we'll take one from it now and give you an indication of the perspective on it. Here the yardstick you see is shrunk. It's much shorter. It doesn't look anything like a 2x4. It looks rather like a pencil more than anything else. Now how does this make a difference in what you're doing? Well, let me illustrate if I may. Suppose you were showing people at home a can of wax, this happens to be, yes, wax, and you wanted to say try some. Well, we were going on an 8.5-inch lens on camera 3. Suppose we were to extend our arm and say try this particular brand of wax. Now you can see it doesn't look particularly large, does it? It doesn't distort. It looks fairly normal. So I hold it out. But suppose we were to do the same thing on a camera close to us. Suppose we were to turn to our camera that's very close to us and extend our wax and say, here, have some. You can see it balloons out, becomes very distorted, distorts tremendously on this particular lens from this distance. Now this can, this factor of perspective, choice of angle, can be important in a number of different kinds of shows. In dance, for example, you may want to have considerable movement back and forth. On a wide-angle lens, where you have this apparent long perspective that we were talking about, your dancers will look like they're moving through space. If you use long lenses, they will not look like they are occupying as much space. They will look static and will not be as entertaining as you expect. Now you all are going to be doing an interview show, and let's think in terms, when we do this show, of your camera positions that the director will have to decide, of your perspective, and of trying to balance your perspective and your fields of view. In a moment we'll be going into the control room And carrying on from in there, I do want, however, to mention a few things about setting up your interview, which you will be doing. First of all, your furniture here, as it is, should be arranged so that good shots are possible. Here, for example, this chair is canted this way and makes possible a direct shot in this line along this way, the person talking. This, on the other hand, will make possible a shot over here. So you have the camera in this line, and we can have people here. If you had put the chairs together so that both people were faced flat out this way, it would be rather hard to take any sort of picture of them which would look very good on television. Now, in your interview, the person you're going to want to feature will be the person who has been brought to the studio as a guest and is going to be interviewed. So you presume we already know the moderator. We don't really care about looking at him too much. He's been around before. But we do want to see the people he's going to talk to. So you will spend most of your time on the camera that shows us the person he is talking to. Are we about ready to go into a rehearsal now?
If before you start on the rehearsal, if we may break on in and take another look at your scene and set it up anew for our TV audience as to exactly what it is that you from the Institute are going to do here at this time.
Well, as students here at the Institute, we try to do a variety of shows. This one, as you heard, is going to be an interview. And the students that we have out here will be serving as crew members. They will actually be on camera. They will actually be on the mic boom, serving on the lights, and actually conducting the interview. In the control room, which we will visit in just a minute, you will see the directing crew, the people who will be giving the commands for camera movement and so forth. That's located in another room, and it's sealed off to be soundproof. And I expect while our folks here are setting up, we can go in there and take a look and see how the control room operation is going. Will you all start your interview, if you will? While we're getting back into the control room, our director will probably be giving a variety of commands to...
This is it, isn't it, John?
Yes, through this door here. We won't be seen on television, but we'll sneak in anyway. And now in here, we are observing over the shoulder of the director and his crew. He is seated at a console which allows him to see the pictures from the various cameras. Also, he has beside him a switcher, a technical director, who can put up a variety of pictures depending upon what the director actually calls for. It'll probably be a little snug in here for us to get introduced, and perhaps it will be best for us just to sit back and listen to the director and watch his show. Here he goes.
This is a WRTI special presentation. Tonight, Ms. Linda Beiser, a student of the Radio Television Institute on Kings Mountain, will be interviewed by Mr. Frank Gardner from Mooresville. Now, Mr. Gardner. Kings Mountain, North Carolina. Ms. Beiser is a student of the North Carolina High School Radio Television Institute. Ms. Beiser, I understand that you are here on a scholarship from WUNC. Would you mind telling us how you happened to win this?
After I filled it out, I put it back in, and then they wrote me a letter and told me that I was the number 49 that was the report to the district.
What are you on? What are you on? Huh?
And
those are 50, please.
And then I was
Nope, put them on.
Would you tell us what you do in your free time up here?
Back up a little bit, Leah. Back up a little bit. Back up. Starting up. Right. Down, curve, down. I did this. And lay your hand. Put your shot. You want to use the purpose. Okay. When you think that's where this goes, maybe one take it.
Have you made up your mind yet as to whether you're going into radio and TV, or do you think that you need to either follow this method? This is a great field.
All right, man. Take it back, Leah. Yeah, tell the thing down in there.
Drama and things of that nature, and we had to write a 30-minute drama for Mr. Clayton, and
Pete, we've enjoyed very much. I'm off camera and can't be on it. It's a little snug, but we've enjoyed a lot listening to you here. And if you'll go ahead and continue with your show, you'll simply continue to observe. I did want to thank you for showing us how you were working here. Thank you very much. I'm afraid we don't have time right now for that, but do go ahead with the interview. Thank you.
Pete, I wish we had time to stop and talk to all your crew. It looks like a grand job that you're doing there. The whole principle of operation is remarkably well done, and I think for high school students and ones new to the field of communication, you can all take a bow. Now, I suppose going from the young in the field of communication to the old, Mr. Earl Wynn, director of the Institute, chairman of the Department of Radio and TV, and if you'll forgive me, I'm going to describe you as a long-time fixture here in Chapel Hill.
How much time do we have?
We are running awfully close, and I want to make one. Let me ask one question.
Okay.
Tie the whole thing up for us. Tell us what the purpose is of the Institute.
Well, you know, about 8 years ago, John Young, who was directing this show, talked at my insistence with several of the broadcasters, saying that it was very important, he thought, and we thought too, and I thought, that the broadcasters get interested in the young people, the talented young people in the high schools who may be interested in this field. And they were extremely interested in this. And as a result of this, we organized 8 years ago the first North Carolina High School Radio Institute. And we've been running it for 7 years.
So that
now the purpose of that institute is to find the talented young people in North Carolina who may someday